Good morning, students. Welcome back again. First of all, can you hear my voice? મારો અવાજ આવે છે? જુઓ ને મોબાઈલમાં. Okay. So as we were discussing chapter number 1 in vistas, right? In the last session we were discussing English chapter number 1. The name of the chapter is the third level. The name of the chapter is the third level, right? We all know that there is no third level, but actually in an imaginary situation where Charlie reaches to a third level, where Charlie reaches to its third level, and he describes everything to his wife and his psychiatrist friend who is a doctor, right? But they are not ready to believe. They are not ready to believe. And the thing that happens over the third level is because of the insecurity that he has, and he has always a habit of collecting stamps. એને એક એવી આદત હતી જે જૂના સ્ટેમ્પ પેપર કલેક્ટ કરવાની આદત હતી. That is what his hobby was, to collect the old stamps, right? To look for the old things, and he always wanted to go into the past. He was more concerned with the kind of a history rather than focusing on the present and living for the future, right? એની એક એવી મેન્ટાલિટી અથવા એની એક એવી પર્ટિક્યુલર સાયકોલોજી હતી that he was more concerned in the activity which were related to the historical concept, as it was his hobby to collect the stamp papers, as it was his hobby to collect the stamp papers. As it was his hobby to collect the stamp papers. That is what we have seen. That is what we have seen, right? આપણે આટલું જોઈ ગયા હતા in the previous session, right? So I advise all the students to take your textbook with you, right? Page number 2. I'm going to read the last paragraph and then we will start. Sometimes I think Grand Central is growing like a tree, pushing out new corridors, staircase and like roots. There is probably a long tunnel that nobody knows about, filling its way under the city right now, on its way to Times Square, and maybe another to Central Park. And maybe because so many people through the years, Grand Central has been an exit, a way of escape. Maybe that's how the tunnel I got into, but I never told my psychiatrist friend about that idea, right? એવા ટનલમાં જતો રહ્યો, right? Where it was something very new for him to look into, right? એક એવી વસ્તુ, એક એવી જગ્યા જે ક્યારેય નહોતો ગયો, એ જગ્યાએ જતો રહ્યો through the tunnel. Remember, he was on the second level. He was on the second level. એ second level ઉપર હતો જ, પણ ત્યાં એ second level underground હતું, and there were many tunnels over there. And once he goes into that tunnel, he finds something new every time. He finds something new every time, right? And that is what he is describing to his wife. And that is what he has kept as a secret, and he didn't told his friend. Who was his friend? A psychiatrist doctor, right? એ બધી વસ્તુ શેર કરે છે. એણે જેટલું જોયું થર્ડ લેવલની અંદર, હજી તો એ એન્ટર જ થાય છે. He just goes into that third level, right? But whatever he has seen, whatever he has experienced, right, that is what he is describing everything, right? But the thing is, his wife and his friend, they are not ready to accept all these things. They are not ready to accept all these things, right? Moving ahead. But I never told to my psychiatrist friend about that idea. The corridor I was in began angling left and slanting downwards, and I thought that was wrong. But I kept on walking. All I could hear was the empty sound of my own footsteps. હવે એ જે પર્ટિક્યુલર ટનલ હતું, he started to walk deep into that tunnel. He started to walk deep into that tunnel, right? He knew that he was wrong. એને ખબર હતી આ જગ્યાએ હું જઉં છું, મેં જોઈ નથી. I am going it for the first time. I may be lost. But still, I kept on walking. Charlie kept on walking, right? All I could hear was the empty sound of my own footsteps. એવી જગ્યાએ પહોંચી ગયો હતો જ્યાં બીજું કોઈ જ નહોતું. It was totally an empty space where he could hear his own footsteps. એને ખાલી પોતાના જ પગનો અવાજ આવતો, right? He was at that place. Right? And I didn't pass a soul. That means nobody was there. Didn't pass a soul. That means he was all alone. Any આજુબાજુ કોઈ soul. That means there was no body which was close to him in that tunnel. Right? હલો કર્યા પેલું કાઢો તો ખરી. કેન યુ હિયર માય વોઇસ? હલો અવાજ આવે છે? ઓકે, હવે અહીંયા જે બીજો મોબાઈલ છે જેમાં લાઈવ ચાલુ છે એમાં મેડમ જે જોવે છે એમાં ક્લિયર વોઇસ છે. એવું હોય તો એમને અનમ્યુટ જ રાખો ને થોડીક વાર. આવ્યો ને? ઓકે, સો લેટ અસ બિગિન અગેન, રાઈટ? ઓન ધ પેજ નંબર 3. ધ કોરિડોર આઈ વોઝ બિગિન, એને ફરીથી સ્ટાર્ટ કરું છું. આઈ એમ રિપીટિંગ ઇટ અગેન, રાઈટ? કદાચ કેટલાક સ્ટુડન્ટ્સને અવાજ નહીં આવતો હોય, સો આઈ એમ રિપીટિંગ દેટ કોન્સેપ્ટ અગેન, રાઈટ? પ્લીઝ ફોકસ ઓન ધી ટેક્સ્ટ બુક, રાઈટ? કદાચ એ જો અવાજ ના આવે, રાઈટ, અથવા કોઈ ટેકનિકલ ઇસ્યુ થાય, સો ઇફ યુ ફોકસ ઓન ધી ટેક્સ્ટ બુક, if you focus on the textbook, you will understand what the story is going, right? જેમાં ટેકનિકલ ઇસ્યુ હોય, નેટવર્ક ઇસ્યુ હોય, ઇવન આઈ એમ હેલ્પલેસ એન્ડ ઇવન યુ આર હેલ્પલેસ, રાઈટ? બંને સાઈડથી કંઈ થઈ શકે એમ છે નહીં, રાઈટ? એ નેટવર્ક ઘણીવાર જતું રહેતું હોય એટલે એવા ઇસ્યુઝ ક્રિએટ થતા હોય. બટ જો તમે ટેક્સ્ટબુકમાં ધ્યાન રાખશો, કોન્સેપ્ટ તમને ક્લિયર હશે, અત્યાર સુધી તમે સમજ્યા હશો, તો જેમ જેમ હું આગળ વાંચતો જઈશ એમ તમે પણ ટેક્સ્ટબુકમાં ધ્યાન આપતા જજો. You just focus on the textbook as we go with the flow. Automatically you will understand what the story is about the third level, right? તો કોઈ queries કે કોઈ questions ઊભા થશે નહીં, but you have to focus on the textbook. Okay, so we are moving ahead. ફરીથી એ પેરેગ્રાફ રિપીટ કરું છું, પેજ નંબર 3. The corridor I was in began angling left and slanting downwards, and I thought that was wrong. Charlie knew that whatever way that I am going on in this particular direction in a tunnel, that is totally wrong. But he still moved on. Right? And I thought that was wrong, but I kept on walking. All I could hear was the empty sound of my own footsteps, and I didn't pass a soul. That means he was totally all alone over there. એવા ટનલમાં જતો રહ્યો હતો. He went into a tunnel which was totally empty. There was no other person, there was no other soul who was standing next to him, right? I didn't pass any soul. There I heard the sort of hollow roar ahead. That means open space and people talking. Now again he goes deep into that tunnel towards the end of the other side. એ જે ટનલ હોય એ જે પૂરું થાય છે એના એન્ડમાં એ જાય છે. He moves on the other side of the end of the tunnel. And what does he see? He sees certain people. Right? That means an open space. એક ground જેવું હતું, right? And people were talking, right? The people were talking. That means he has reached to the third level. Right? The tunnel turned sharp left. I went down a short flight of stairs and came out on the third level at Grand Central Station. The tunnel turned towards sharp left. એક ઓપન સ્પેસ હશે. ઓપન સ્પેસ એટલે એક એમ્પ્ટી ગ્રાઉન્ડ. એક નાનકડું એવું ગ્રાઉન્ડ હતું, એક ઓપન સ્પેસ હતી. થર્ડ લેવલ, રાઈટ? ફર્સ્ટ લેવલ ગ્રાઉન્ડ ઉપર હતું, સેકન્ડ લેવલ અંડરગ્રાઉન્ડ હતું, દેટ ઇઝ ઇન ધી બોટમ, એન્ડ થર્ડ લેવલ એ સૌથી અંડરગ્રાઉન્ડ હતું, રાઈટ? સો ફર્સ્ટ લેવલ વોઝ ઓન ધી પર્ટિક્યુલર ફ્લોર, ધ સેકન્ડ વોઝ અંડરગ્રાઉન્ડ લેવલ, એન્ડ ધ થર્ડ લેવલ વોઝ વેરી ડીપ, રાઈટ? એ ત્રીજા લેવલે જતો રહ્યો, રાઈટ? એન્ડ દેર વોઝ એ શાર્પ લેફ્ટ સાઇડ ટર્ન. એક લેફ્ટ સાઇડ એક ટર્ન હતો, રાઈટ? I went down a short flight of stairs. હવે એ ટનલમાં પણ જ્યારે એન્ડ થયું, એક ઓપન સ્પેસ હતી, there was a left sharp turn on that particular place. He again goes on the left side and there were downstairs. That means the steps were moving towards the downside, right? At the Grand Central Station on the third level. For just a moment I thought I was back on the second level, but I saw the room was smaller. હવે એ જેવો એ જેમ જેમ આગળ જાય છે, is just moving the steps forward. He thought that again he has reached to the second level. કારણ કે સેકન્ડ અને થર્ડ લેવલનો જે કોન્સેપ્ટ હતો, જે કન્સ્ટ્રક્શન, ધ પીપલ ઓવર ધેર ઓર ધ એન્વાયરમેન્ટ ઓવર ધેર વોઝ વેરી સિમિલર બિટવીન સેકન્ડ એન્ડ થર્ડ લેવલ, રાઈટ? So as he goes towards that particular downstairs, he at one point of time he thinks that I am again on the second level. હું પાછો ગમે એમ કરીને સેકન્ડ લેવલ ઉપર પહોંચી ગયો. Look at his imaginatory situation. તમે એનું વિચાર શ્રેણી જો, રાઈટ. એક એવો વ્યક્તિ જે પાસ્ટ ઓરિએન્ટેડ છે, પર્સન who is more concerned with the historical facts rather than living in the present and thinking for the future, right. પ્રેઝન્ટમાં એને ગમતું નથી રહેવું. he is not living in the present because he feels the life which he is living currently is full of insecurity, full of fears. એને એવું છે કે કદાચ મારી જોબ જતી રહેશે. ઇનસિક્યોર્ડ પર્સન છે. he is not happy with what he has a small amount of saving, right. he knows the world is very fast, the world of technology in United States, right. New York ની વાત છે, it is all about United States, and he feels that he is not that competitive enough that he can survive in this particular planet for this particular time. જે અત્યારનો સમયગાળો છે, the era of technology, right. he personally thinks that he cannot live longer over in this particular time, so he is more concerned with the history. એ વારે ઘડીએ હિસ્ટ્રીમાં જતો રહે છે. he moves towards the past, right, and he suddenly reaches to the third level. એ ત્રીજા લેવલે જતો રહે છે. he finds an empty space, એક એને ઓપન સ્પેસ મળે છે, ઓપન ગ્રાઉન્ડ. he finds an ground, he finds people who are talking over there. again he goes to the left side at the third level, right. ત્રીજા લેવલ ઉપર એ લેફ્ટ સાઈડ ટર્ન મારે છે, રાઈટ. ફર્સ્ટ લેવલ, સેકન્ડ લેવલ એન્ડ થર્ડ લેવલ. all these levels are actually stations. all these levels are actually stations. આ બધા સ્ટેશન્સ છે જ્યાં ટ્રેન આવીને ઊભી રહે, right. so this is on the floor, this is underground, and this is even more underground, right. ઇન્ડિયામાં આ કોન્સેપ્ટ જોવા નથી મળતો, but in western countries this kind of concept is still prevailing today, right. underground પણ રેલવે સ્ટેશન્સ હોય છે, right. so second level સુધી બરાબર છે, but he goes to the third level and again he takes a left turn and he thinks that I am reaching on the second level. I am reaching on the second level. Let's move ahead and look into the textbook what it is, right. For just a moment I thought I was back on the second level, but I saw the room was smaller. I saw the room was smaller. ત્યાંના જે rooms હતા, they were quite small compared to the rooms which were there on the second level. જે સેકન્ડ લેવલમાં જે પર્ટિક્યુલર રેલવે સ્ટેશન જે હતું અને ત્યાંના જે રૂમ્સ હતા, that were quite big compared to the third level. That is what he sees over there, right. there were fewer ticket windows. there were fewer ticket windows. જે ટિકિટ વિન્ડોઝ હતી એ પણ બહુ ઓછી હતી, right. as he was moving towards the history, કયા સેન્ચુરીમાં પહોંચી જાય છે, that is given on the next page, right. so focus on the textbook. fewer tickets, windows and train gates, and the information booth in the center was of wood and old looking. લાકડાના જે પર્ટિક્યુલર સ્ટેન્ડ્સ અથવા જે જૂના જમાનાનું જે ફર્નિચર હોય એ ટાઈપનું એ થર્ડ લેવલનું આખું કન્સ્ટ્રક્શન કરેલું પ્લેસ હતું, રાઈટ. વિચ વોઝ કમ્પ્લીટલી મેડ આઉટ ઓફ વુડ, રાઈટ. fewer ticket windows and the train gates and the information booth in the center was wood and old looking, and the man in the booth, એટલે જે ટિકિટ આપતો હોય, the person who is sitting inside the window, that is the booth, right, wore a green eye shade and a long black sleeve protectors. The lights were dim and sort of flickering. Then I saw why they were open flame gas lights. Open flame gas lights. Open flame gas light means there was no electricity. There was no electricity, right. પેલી ગેસ લાઇટ્સ આવે ને, right, ફાનસ કહીએ ગુજરાતીમાં આપણે, right. that kind of light was there on the third level. On the third level the lights were very dim, but they were not actually the lights, but they were gas lights. ફાનસ કહેવાય ગુજરાતીમાં. એ ટાઈપની લાઇટ્સ થર્ડ લેવલ ઉપર હતી, which were prevailing on the third level. so it was a bit dark. It was a bit dark, right. and he sees the person in the booth. that means એ જે ટિકિટ આપતો હતો એ વ્યક્તિ અથવા એ વિન્ડોની જે અંદરની સાઈડ બેઠેલો વ્યક્તિ હતો, his dressing sense was completely odd. His dressing sense was completely odd. The dressing sense that Charlie used to wear in 2021 or in the current era was totally different from what he finds at the third level. The dressing sense, the specs, the furniture over there, everything was old fashioned. Everything was old fashion. હવે કઈ સેન્ચુરીમાં પહોંચી જાય છે ને? Let's move ahead. Let's look into the textbook. There were brass spittoons on the floors and across the stations. A glint of light caught my eye. A man was pulling a gold watch from his vest pocket. A man was pulling a gold watch. સોનાની ઘડિયાળ. પહેલાના લોકો પહેલાના સમયની અંદર આવી ઘડિયાળ પહેરતા હતા. People used to wear gold watch. Right? He found a person or a man was pulling a gold watch from his vest pocket. He snapped open the cover, glanced at his watch and frowned. He wore a derby hat, a black four-button suit with a tiny lapels, and he had a big black handlebar moustache. Then I looked around and saw that everyone in the station was dressed like the 18th or the 90 something. 1890s something. 1890s something. એટલે 1890. The year 1890. 1880 ની સાલમાં તમે જતા રહો. You reach into almost 100-200 years back. The kind of people that you find, the kind of currency that you find, the kind of construction that you find, the kind of dressing sense that you find is completely different from what we are today. Right? અત્યારની જે જનરેશન છે, અત્યારનું જે સમય છે, અત્યારનું જે એરા ઓફ ટેકનોલોજી છે, હવે તમે 1890sમાં તમે જતા રહો and you look at those people, there is a vast difference in the standard of living between them and between us. You look at your own grandparents, right? આપણે આપણા દાદાની વાત કરીએ અથવા આપણા ફોરફાધર્સની વાત કરીએ, રાઈટ? કદાચ જોયું નહીં હોય પણ આપણે સાંભળ્યું હશે અથવા ક્યાંક એક્સપિરિયન્સ કર્યો હશે. The way that they tell the stories to us and the way that we live today, there is a vast difference, right? આપણા ગ્રેન્ડફાધર જે લાઈફ જીવતા હતા અને આપણે જે લાઈફ જીવીએ છીએ એમાંય જો આટલો ડિફરન્સ આવતો હોય, this person has reached to a level that is third level and the year is 1890. 1890ની સાલમાં એ પહોંચી ગયો છે. એ સમયમાં સોનાની ઘડિયાળ હતી, ડ્રેસિંગ સેન્સ અલગ હતું, and suddenly he finds every people over there has the same dressing sense, right? Moving ahead. Then I looked around and saw that everyone in the station was dressed like 1890 something. I never saw so many beards, sideburns and fancy moustaches in my life. Fancy moustaches, right? Different kind of moustache. Moustache એટલે મૂછ, right? એ સમયના લોકો ડ્રેસિંગ સેન્સમાં મુસ્ટેચમાં બિલીવ કરતા હતા, બિયર્ડ્સમાં બિલીવ કરતા હતા. And it was all stylish. It was all stylish, but very different from right now that we have. Right? અત્યારની જે ફેશન છે, અત્યારની જે બિયર્ડ અને મુસ્ટેચ રાખવાની સ્ટાઇલ છે, એ સમયમાં કાંઈક અલગ હતી. And suddenly he finds all the people over there with similar kind of mustache and beard and dressing sense, and he feels that where am I? હું ક્યાં પહોંચી ગયો છું? Right? I never saw so many beards, sideburns and fancy moustaches in my life. A woman walked in through the train gate. She wore a dress with a leg mutton sleeves and skirts to the top of her high button shoes. Back on her, out on the tracks, I caught a glimpse of a locomotive. Locomotive એટલે કોણ? જે ટ્રેક્સ ઉપર કામ કરતા હોય ને, રાઈટ? જે રેલવેનો ટ્રેક હોય એમાં જે પણ કામ થતું હોય એ લોકોમોટિવ પાયલટ્સ અથવા લોકોમોટિવ એન્જિનિયર્સ જે પણ હોય એ લોકો કામ કરતા હોય. These people are known as locomotive. They are more concerned with the physical work. કઈ વસ્તુ તૂટી ગઈ હોય, કઈ રિપેર કરવાની હોય. So this kind of people work over there, right? They are known as locomotives. I caught a glimpse of a locomotive, a very small Currier and Ives locomotive with a funnel-shaped stack, and then I knew. હવે એ જે લોકોમોટિવ્સ હોય એમને એક ડ્રેસ આપેલો હોય બાય ધી રેલવેઝ, રાઈટ? આપણે કેમ અહીંયા રેલવેમાં યુનિફોર્મ હોય એવી રીતે પોસ્ટ પ્રમાણે, એવી રીતે જેની જે પોસ્ટ હોય એ પ્રમાણે યુનિફોર્મ આપવામાં આવેલો હતો. એન્ડ સડનલી હી નોટિસીસ સર્ટન કાઇન્ડ ઓફ લોકોમોટિવ પર્સન્સ ઓવર ધેર, રાઈટ? એન્ડ હી ફાઇન્ડ્સ ધ ડ્રેસિંગ સેન્સ એન્ડ દેન હી સડનલી રિયલાઇઝ that I am into the century or I am into the year that is 1890, right? To make sure I walked over to a newsboy. હવે જો એ શું કરે છે, એ કન્ફ્યુઝ થઈ ગયો છે. Now he is confused and he has been lost into the year 1890. He finds people over there which are weird, old dressing sense. The particular furniture over there at the third level at the station is totally outdated. And what does he do now? એ કન્ફર્મ કરવા માટે એ ન્યૂઝબોય પાસે જાય છે. ન્યૂઝબોય એટલે કોણ? The person who is selling newspaper. right? A newspaper તો current date ના જ હોય, right? Now he goes to the newsboy and glanced at the stack of papers at his feet. It was the World War, and the World War hasn't been published for years. It was the World War, and the World War hasn't been published for years, right? 1930 થી લઈને 1945 સુધી ફર્સ્ટ અને સેકન્ડ વર્લ્ડ વોર ચાલેલા, right? એ પહેલા એ પહોંચી જાય છે, right? And all these things he finds on the headlines of the newspapers, which was there, which was there in the hands of the boy who was selling the newspaper, right? The communication was going on that the World War might happen. કદાચ World War I અથવા World War II ની પોસિબિલિટી ખરી, એવી વાતો ચાલતી હતી. That was written in the newspaper, right? Moving ahead, the World War and the World War hasn't been published for years. The lead story said something about President Cleveland. The lead story, that means the main thing which was there on the newspaper was about the president. The name of the president was Cleveland, right? I found that front page since in the public library files, and it was printed on July 11th, 1894. હવે એ પોતે recall કરે છે President Cleveland. ક્યારે recall કરે છે? When he is at the third level and he recognizes that I have written or I have read something about this president when I was there at the first level, when I was in the present era, and I have read it somewhere in the library. I have read it somewhere in the library. આવું તમે ક્યાંક લાઇબ્રેરીમાં વાંચેલું, when I was not lost. And the date, if I remember, was June 11, 1894. એવું મેં લાઇબ્રેરીમાં જ્યારે ફર્સ્ટ લેવલે હતો, that means when I was not lost, ત્યારે હું લાઇબ્રેરી ગયો હતો ને ત્યારે મેં આવું વાંચેલું about President Cleveland. અને એમાં જે ડેટ લખી હતી હિસ્ટ્રીની, that was June 11, 1894. And right now I am lost into the third level and I look at the newspaper, and the newspaper is talking about President Cleveland, and the date is June 11, 1894. That means I am lost into a place, or I am lost into the 1890s world. 1890 ની જે સાલ છે એમાં હું ખોવાઈ ગયો છું at the third level. And whatever he is seeing, આ જેટલી વસ્તુ એ જોવે છે, એ ફીલ કરે છે, લોકોને ફીલ કરે છે, all these things he is sharing with his wife. He is sharing with his wife, right? Moving ahead, I turned towards the ticket window, knowing that here on the third level at Grand Central I could buy tickets that would take Louisa and me. Louisa, the name of his wife was Louisa, right? On the third level. હવે જો એવો વિચાર કરે છે, આજે મેં બધી વસ્તુ એક્સપિરિયન્સ કરી, whatever I have seen, whatever I have experienced, now I want to buy one more ticket. આપણે કેમ અંદર રેલવે સ્ટેશનમાં જઈએ તો પ્લેટફોર્મ ટિકિટ લઈએ અને પછી ટ્રેન માટેની અલગ ટિકિટ હોય, રાઈટ? એવી જ વસ્તુ આણે પોતે ફીલ કરી. He felt the same thing, that I want to go to the ticket, I want to buy one more ticket for my wife so that I can show her that there is actually a third level, right? And I wanted 2 tickets to Galesburg, Illinois. Galesburg is a place which is very close to New York, and he wanted 2 tickets for that, and a 2 ticket જોઈતી હતી, right? And he goes to the ticket window. Right? Have you ever been there? That is the question. Have you ever been there? It is a wonderful town, still with big old frame houses, huge lawns and tremendous trees whose branches meet overhead and roof the streets. એક એવી ઓલ્ડ પ્લેસ, જો અહીંયા પણ એ જે ટિકિટ્સ લે છે અને એ એવી જગ્યાએ વાત કરે છે જવાની, that place is very old in New York, right? એ જગ્યાએ બહુ લોકો જતા નથી અથવા બહુ લોકો રહેતા નથી. People don't stay over there for a long point of time at that place because there is nothing over there, right? And he selects that place which belongs to a history. 1894 માં તો ઓલરેડી પહોંચી જ ગયો છે અને ત્યાં જઈને બી એ એવી ટિકિટ લેવા માગે છે કે વધારે હિસ્ટ્રીમાં જતું રહે, right? That is what it is, right? And he wanted 2 tickets, one for himself and one for his wife, right? Huge lawns and tremendous trees whose branches meets overhead and roof the streets. And in the year 1894, summer evenings were twice as long as the people sat out on their lawns, the men smoking cigars and talking quietly, the women waving palm leaf fans with the fireflies all around. In a peaceful world. In a peaceful world. He wanted to go into the history, a place named Galesburg, where there were very few peoples. They were talking very politely to each other, right? There was no electricity at that point of time. They were sitting in the lawns. Lawns means garden, right? And they were smoking cigars, and the women, right, waving palm leaf fans. Palm leaf, palm નું જે ઝાડ હોય ને એના લીફ બહુ મોટા હોય, એનાથી એ હવા નાખતા હતા. They were, moving with the palm leaf fans, right? With the fireflies all around, right? Fire સળગાવે, right? આપણે અત્યારે જે જોઈએ છે ને ફાયર સળગાવે in the winter, that kind of environment it was in a place named Galesburg. એ બધું આવું વિચારે છે. ઓલરેડી થર્ડ લેવલે પહોંચી ગયો છે, ખોવાઈ ગયો છે, લોકોને જોવે છે. He looks at the environment and he feels that I am lost into the year 1890 or 1894, and whatever I see, હું જેટલું જોઉં છું, જેટલું એક્સપિરિયન્સ કરું છું, આ બધી જ વસ્તુ મારે મારા વાઈફને કહેવી. I want to tell all these things to my wife. અને 1894 પણ, right, in this year 1894 at the third level, again he wants to go back to the history. એટલે maybe 17th or 16th century કે એક પ્લેસનું નામ હતું ગેલ્સબર્ગ, જ્યાં એક પોઈન્ટ ઓફ ટાઈમે લોકો રહેતા હતા અને 1890sમાં હવે એ લોકો રહેતા નથી. Look at his mind. એના વિચાર તમે જુઓ, એનું કોન્સેપ્ટ તમે જુઓ, રાઈટ? He is always concerned living a peaceful life. જો એમાં એક સ્પેસિફિક વર્ડ યુઝ કર્યો છે, peaceful life. He wanted to go over there actually. આજની જે હડાહડી છે, right, the life that we live today, which is full of rush, શાંતિ જ નથી. We don't have time, right? એ વસ્તુ એને નહોતી ગમતી. And he wanted to live to that place, and he goes into the history. And he even selects the place which is even more historical, and the name of the place is Galesburg. And whom he wants to take with him? That is his wife, right? And he plans to buy the tickets. He plans to buy the tickets. Moving ahead. The woman waving palm leaf fans with the fireflies all around, in a peaceful world. To be back there with the First World War, still 25 years off. First World War ના પહેલા 25 વર્ષ પહેલા એ જગ્યાએ પહોંચી ગયો છે, right? He wants to buy 2 tickets to that place, which is before 25 years of the First World War, right? And World War II over 40 years in future. 25 વર્ષ World War I પહેલા અને 40 years World War II પહેલા in the future. I wanted 2 tickets for that. He actually wanted to live the life before the World War. Before the World War. આપણે કેમ કે પેન્ડેમિક જોઈએ છે કોરોના વાયરસનું, રાઈટ? આપણે આવું ક્યારે એક્સપિરિયન્સ નથી કર્યું આપણી લાઈફ, રાઈટ? પણ આપણે જે એક્સપિરિયન્સ કરીએ છીએ, ફીલ કરીએ છીએ, that would be history after few years, and we will be telling to the next generations, right? કે અમે આવું સહન કર્યું તો અમે આ સમયમાંથી નીકળી ગયા હતા, maybe 10 or 20 years down the line, right? Because we have never experienced certain kind of pandemics in our life. તો જ્યારે તમને એવો મોકો મળે કે તમને કોઈ એવું કહે કે તમે World War I અને World War II પહેલાંના સમયમાં જતા રહો, where there is total peace in this world. આ બધા વોર્સ ને બધું ક્યારથી ચાલુ થયું? વર્લ્ડ વોર ક્યાંથી ચાલુ થયા? ઇટ ઓલ સ્ટાર્ટેડ ફ્રોમ World War I, રાઈટ? થોડાક સમયમાં જ World War II, અને પછી ડિફરન્સીસ આવતા ગયા, કન્ટ્રીઝ પોતાની બાઉન્ડ્રીઝ ક્રિએટ કરતી ગઈ, ટેરિટરીઝ વધતી ગઈ, એન્ડ ઓલ દેટ કાઇન્ડ ઓફ થિંગ્સ, પોપ્યુલેશન વધતું ગયું, એન્ડ ધી એરા ઓફ ટેકનોલોજી સ્ટાર્ટેડ ટુ ડેવલપ. અને જેમ જેમ સમય આગળ જતો ગયો એમ જે પીસ હતું લાઈફની અંદર એ ઓછું થતું ગયું. વી ઓલ હેવ ઓલ ધી ફેસિલિટીઝ રાઇટ નાઉ, બટ વી ડુ નોટ હેવ પીસ ઇન અવર લાઈફ ટુડે. બધી વસ્તુ છે આપણી પાસે, બટ વી ડુ નોટ હેવ પીસ, રાઈટ? મગજમાં કંઈક ને કંઈક વિચાર તો ચાલતા જ હોય. If we have this, we are moving towards the next thing. આ છે તો હવે મારે આ જોઈએ છે, and we move on constantly. આ વ્યક્તિ એવો નહોતો. The person or the character mentioned in this story was not like that. He wanted a peaceful life rather than earning the money. Right? અને એ પોતે બી એવું ઈચ્છતો હતો. He was, wishing from his heart that I'll take my wife also. હું મારી વાઈફને જોડે લેતો જો. And we will live over there. અમે ત્યાં રહેશું. And he wanted 2 tickets for that. Moving ahead on the next page, that is page number 5. The clerk figured the fare. He glanced at my fancy headband, but he figured the fare and I had enough for 2 coach tickets one way. But when I counted out the money and looked up, the clerk was staring at me. He nodded at the bills. This ain't money, mister, he said, and if you are trying to skin me, you won't get very far. હવે જો શું પ્રોબ્લેમ થયો, ભૂલી ગયો. રાઈટ? શું ભૂલી ગયો? કરન્સી. 1894ની કરન્સી અને યુએસની અત્યારની કરન્સી ચેન્જ. નોટ્સ હેઝ બીન ચેન્જડ, ધ કલર હેઝ બીન ચેન્જડ. રાઈટ? આપણી કેમ કરન્સી બદલાઈ ગઈ? પહેલાં બધા કલર અલગ હતા, હવે નવી કરન્સી આવી ગઈ. એવું જ એની જોડે પણ થયું. હવે જ્યારે ટિકિટ લેવા જાય છે, as soon as he goes to the window to buy the tickets and the amount of currency that he takes out from his pocket, and the person who is issuing the tickets, જે વ્યક્તિ ટિકિટ્સ આપે છે ને એની સામે જોવે, and he says, hey mister, if you are trying to skin me, right, જો તું મને ઉલ્લુ બનાવવાની વાત કરતો, if you are trying to make fool of me, right, you are not going very far. I'll call the police and I'll hand you over to them. Right? આ તું કઈ કરન્સી મને આપે? What kind of currency that you are giving me? This does not exist in the year 1894. So if you are making fun of me or if you are trying to make fool of me, you aren't going very far. I'm just going to call the police and they'll catch you. એ પેલાને ખાવો પડી ગયો, ઓ નો કરન્સી તો ચાલતી નથી. આ તો મારી પાસે જે કરન્સી છે એ તો અત્યારની છે, 1894ની કરન્સી તો કંઈક અલગ જ હશે. એટલે એને ખબર પડી ગઈ કે હવે જો હું અહીંયા રહ્યો, now if I am at this 3rd level anymore, people are looking at me and I am going to get caught. મને પકડીને એ લોકો પૂરી દેશે. You know the rules and regulations of United States, right? ઇન્ડિયા કરતાં ઘણા અલગ છે, right? એટલે એને બીક લાગી ગઈ. He was quite afraid, right? Now what happens next? What happens next? Okay. So we are stopping the video over here, right? We are stopping the video over here. He is all